Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. It's been a while. But because of the kind generosity of my boy Cameron from Wisconsin, y'all get a little bit of mystery beers up in this piece. I don't remember the last time I did a mystery beer. Mystery beers almost exclusively come via beer mail. And I don't get a ton of beer mails now that I don't do as many reviews, and it's just nice to see some come across the table. It's probably been Beer Tube Palooza was the last time I actually did a mystery beer. I'm thinking I might actually taken home a mystery beer. No, I know I did take home a mystery beer from Beer Tube Palooza. So that was a fun thing. So you're talking about October. We're now into January, so it's been a little bit. Palate might not be as sharp, but we're going to do it anyway. What do we have? Classic, electrical tape, paper towel, black tab. What is the black tab donate? Don't know. We got darkness. The darkness. So definitely. Kolsch. So yeah, classic stylings, old school mystery beers, and how they originally were intended with the sweet paper towel. I'll tell you what though, when I said mystery beers, I'm a big fan of tinfoil. It's easy to put on, it's easy to take off. What do we have here? I poured it rather aggressively, so there's a decent head on it. But I don't think it's just that. I think it's the style. So if you look at this beer, it's dark, but it's not crazy thick. I think we're dealing low ABV, and we could float in a couple different directions here. We can go something like a Cascadian Dark Ale. We can go a porter. For some reason, my vibes are leaning more like black lager vibes on this sucker. I think this might be something malty, maybe lagered. I mean, again, we're just guessing at this point. Definitely rich maltiness, but I don't think we're dealing with high ABV here. I don't think you get ahead on something like this with a high ABV. I think it has to be low ABV, and for some reason I'm thinking maybe a Pivo or a Tamave kind of beer, because it has that rich creamy head, that rich dark roasty toasty dark body. Let's see if we can get a nose on this sucker. It's malty, but there's a sweet component to it that I feel like might be outside of grains. I can't really nail it. It's almost like there's a little bit of hops and a sweetness to it, to where I might lean black IPA on it. But at this point, I think we're in the right track from that guess at the beginning. I think we're dealing with somebody's like Tamave, checked up kind of black lager at this point. There's not a huge precursor to bittering on here. There's also not a huge roasty toasty component, even though it's there. But again, I think we're dealing with lower ABV. It just has this rich roasted malt, soft little hop profile, nothing too screaming at me. More like a classic Sazi kind of bittering. And then there's this sweet component that I keep kind of tippling on. It's not honey, it's not molasses, it's not maple syrup, something like that. But I feel like there's something here as far as sweetness goes. Anyway, we're just gonna dive in. Cheers, y'all. Okay, so what is that? There's something weird going on here. What is that? So, knee-jerk reaction. I want to go black IPA. But there's a couple other things going on here. It's almost like there's a jamminess to it. Like a raspberry jam. It very much reminds me of the when I used to talk a lot about grandma candies. It's very much that. And mystery beers really kind of make sense with this. For those that haven't heard me kind of spout craziness about grandma candies, it's like the things you would get around the holiday times when I don't even know if they make them anymore. They probably do. But it's a box of candies, you open it up, and then there's just a bunch of random chocolates, and then there's usually a clear, like, acrylic cellophane kind of sheet that is like a legend you know, not legend. It's the key legend. That makes sense. That tells you what those candies are. So it'd be like basically it would just be a clear thing written, you know, peanut butter chocolate, and then underneath that would be the peanut butter chocolate. But once you remove that, you don't know what's in there. And half the time when you're a kid, you just like grab that thing, you throw it, and you just start eating them, and then it becomes a surprise. You don't know which one's which. Sometimes you know because they'll have like little berries on them or something like that. It kind of reminds me of the raspberry, dark chocolate raspberry one that you get. Not super desserty. I think we're still dealing with a low ABV beer. I think we're flirting in and around 5%. But it's somewhere between. So it's a roasted malt component and a dark chocolate component that is floating somewhere between a dark Czech Tmavy Pils and a black IPA. That's where it is. So it's a bit beefier than the Tmavy, but it's not nearly as aggressive as a black IPA. So it's kind of floating in this weird kind of space in between those two. So I think it's like a 5-8% kind of. I'm gonna call it like. I gotta go black IPA. I have to. Because of the fruit component. I don't think someone's going to make a Tmavy raspberry lager. But there's also this fruit component to it. This jamminess to it. That is inherent to darker beers. You can get them a lot. You can get a lot of jamminess, get a lot of rich red fruits out of a roasty, toasty, like Russian Imperial Stout. I can't see this beer fool me, sure. Get to 6. Maybe touch 7 on me. But usually that big fruit component is going to come at plus, 10, double digits. And I'm not really getting that here. I'm getting something that comes off more like lower ABV. And I got it on the nose, so it's not something that just I'm picking up on a taste. Super creamy, fluffy. So it's like a porter-like body. Dark chocolate, roasty, toasty. Touch of burnt breadiness. Then you get the bittering, elevated just above like a Czech Pils kind of bittering. So we're kind of getting to black IPA, but nothing too crazy. And that little fruit component. I'm going to say it. I think this is somebody's black IPA, and I'm going to say it's fruited. I think it has raspberry in it. Probably not. Probably getting that from something else. But I think this is somebody's. I'm actually going higher in ABV now. I'm going to go 6.2% black IPA with raspberry. Let me take one more pour. And like the raspberry is almost like so subtle. That's why I'm kind of like second guessing that fruit addition. Now stick to my guns and just say that. Actually, what am I doing? Just rip the paper towel off. What do we have? So we have Adventurous Brewing Black IPA 7.5. So I went up there. I went 6 and change, but it ended up being even higher than that. And I think that's it. I don't think there's really anything else. Brewed and canned by Adventurous Brewing Company, Bettendorf, Iowa. It says canned 11/28/23. It's $16 per 4-pack, which isn't too bad for 7.5% black IPA. There's no fruit in this. I'm getting all that fruit from some kind of fermentation. I'm assuming it's a yeast thing in combination with this just chocolate maltiness, but there is this fruitiness to it. A very much like a raspberry-like fruitiness to it. So it says black in 23. It's actually a pretty cool label. And then Cameron's always nice. He puts like cool little notes on there as far as price and how old it is. I really do enjoy it. There's some fruity thing here that is just, it's there for me. It's there for me to the point where I'm like, I'm really curious to see if anybody else has gotten this. I'll have to go on Untappd and just read and see if anybody talks about a darker fruitiness. That's probably a better way to describe it rather than raspberry, but that's what came to mind for me. But again, like I said, it was very, very, very subtle, and it's usually something that fruitiness will come to me on a Russian Imperial Stout, but we're usually talking about, 11, 12%. This is 7.5. Black IPA, Russian Imperial Stout, you're kind of bisecting worlds there to a certain extent, but I don't really ever get that big fruity component from this lower ABV. But it's a very fun beer and a very fun mystery beer. Fun way to kick it off. I actually think it did pretty decent there. I called out that fruity thing that obviously doesn't exist. And in the ABV, it was off by what, a full point and change. But it doesn't come off as that big of an ABV, which, you know, I don't know. I like it. Let's put it that way. Design, Mitchell, designlink.com. I like the design on this. It's actually quite nice. I'm a sucker for the gold and black. What do you want me to say? I'm not a Steelers fan. Anyway, mystery beer in the books. Is one of the better black IPAs I've had as of late. Yeah, it's quite tasty. Is it Mount Rushmore status? No. You know, there's some that have really done me proper over the years. You have to go more like a year or two because it's not like you have a ton of black IPAs. But there's some that have really knocked my socks off. But a very, very tasty one. Valued availability, like I said, 16 to 4 pack for 7.5% black IPA. It's kind of like that's what these beers cost nowadays. Actually, might be a scooch less. I know a lot of people that sell this $18, so I'm not going to get mad at that. And leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like black IPA, more specifically, if you like those Russian Imperial Stouts that tend to skew a little fruity, and you want something not necessarily sessionable, but closer to sessionable range, you'd really, really dig this. Because black IPAs and Russian Imperial Stouts share a lot of components to them. But I rarely get that kind of fruitiness at this lower ABV. And I think that's one of the better gets from Russian Imperial Stout. So to get it, this beer at this relatively low ABV, I think it's quite nice. So if you dig that, you'll dig this. Yeah, Adventurous Brewing. Have you had their beers? Have you had this beer? What did you think about it? What were your thoughts? What were your vibes? Did you get that fruitiness? Am I making that my brain? I don't think I am. It's mystery beer. You taste what you taste, and it is what it is. All that fun stuff down there. So thank you very much again, Cameron. Let me know your thoughts on this beer. Mystery beer in the books. It's been a bit. So hopefully you guys enjoyed a mystery beer. You're more than welcome to always send them off. We appreciate them when we get them. You can always reach out, Matt at massivebeers.com or massivebeers@gmail.com. Those are the two ones. I haven't said that in a while. Hopefully you enjoyed the mystery beer. Hopefully enjoyed a little bit of something right now. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.